All right, hey everybody. My name's Dave. I'm here with VibeWire for the July 6th Sunday episode. Just wanted to start by talking about some news. It has been a little bit of a slow Sunday. Want to bring up this story that I've seen pop up a couple of times. If you're interested and if you're actively working on anything related to AI content, it does seem like YouTube might be cracking down on it a little bit. And I thought it might be a good time to look at some of the things they've been saying and look at the actual, I pulled up the YouTube disclosure for AI requirements that I thought might be interesting just to look through in relation to some of their comments here. So this all started a couple days ago when Dexter2, which is a big X account, posted about YouTube cracking down on content. They got community noted. It does look like there's something starting July 15th. It looks like channels that do not meaningfully transform clips risk losing monetization. This includes reaction channels, compilation pages, and more. And then Team YouTube did respond to this saying, this has always been our policy. It's a long-standing YouTube policy to better identify when content is mass produced. So it sounds like they're saying the concern is more around repetitive content, kind of things that might cause viewers to tune out or consider it spam, which is interesting because there might be kind of a fine line there around posting, whether it's fully AI generated and something that you came up with, or whether it's glomming onto a trend. Like a lot of people are posting the Star Wars Stormtroopers, and then there's the Yeti memes. So I would think there's kind of a question there on whether can you do some sort of spin-off on that, or is that going to be considered spammy because it's kind of all in that same vein. Now, getting into the actual YouTube requirements around this. So there's always been this requirement for creators to disclose if you're using a real person, making them say or do something that they didn't actually do. Like you'll see a lot of time. I don't know if I've seen this on YouTube recently, but I definitely have seen clips at one point of like Joe Rogan on YouTube promoting a particular product that is pretty clear wasn't him, altering footage of a real event or place. We've seen a lot of that in the last couple of weeks with the Israeli or Iranian conflict, where you're seeing videos of video games. These aren't even necessarily AI, but just like Modern Warfare or something that looks like, it's a video game engagement that looks pretty real, and people will post it saying that it's something real. Generates realistic looking scenes that didn't actually occur. So similar thing. And then I thought this portion down here was really interesting because it actually gets into the differences between what doesn't require disclosure by creators and what does, and kind of comparing and contrasting them. So applying beauty filters doesn't require any disclosure, but digitally generating or altering content to replace the face entirely of one of the individuals with another's does require disclosure. Synthetically generating or extending the backdrop to simulate a moving car. That's obviously something that happens in movies all the time. That wouldn't require disclosure. But digitally altering a famous car chase scene to include a celebrity who wasn't in the original movie would require disclosure. Using effects to enhance previously recorded audio doesn't require disclosure. Using an AI-generated animation of a missile in a video doesn't require disclosure, which is kind of interesting because that maybe contradicts the previous generates a realistic looking scene that didn't actually occur. That doesn't seem to mesh there. They're saying that would not require disclosure. Some other things that do require disclosure apparently are simulating audio to make it sound as if a medical professional gave advice when the professional did not actually give that advice. Yeah, that does sound pretty bad. Showing a realistic depiction of a missile fired towards a real city would require disclosure by creators. And they do go into some more details here on different requirements and different specifics for each type, which is nice that they're doing that. YouTube doesn't always have the best reputation for sticking to these rules, even if they explicitly state them and applying them differently to different creators. So we'll see, but they do have the rules, explicitly set out here. Whether or not that applies to your case or not, could be they may or may not apply because they obviously don't delineate everything here. Moving over to the tool of the day here. This is something that was released on Product Hunt a couple of days ago. This is the Icons8 MCP server. So Icons8 is basically a directory of icons from real artists here. So you can always access these icons right here. So you're looking for images of a phone. So these are just, phone icons. It's a nice directory. If you find something that you like, then you can just go ahead and download it and then use it in your application. These are free icons to use for the most part, with a couple of caveats. So they do have a license agreement. I would definitely read that in full. Kind of the way that they sum it up, though, is they say that you can use these assets in your application as long as you're linking back to Icons8 wherever you use them, which seems like not such a bad deal for the most part. One of the interesting things about the MCP server specifically, though, is that when you're accessing MCP icons, you will need to pay a subscription fee to use the SVG icons. So if you scroll down here, and you'll see they actually have two different ways to set up your MCP server. So in one case, this is the kind of free icons where you can access PNG icons. You'll have to pass through an additional authorization header with your API key in the case that you want to pay, in the case that you want SVG icons specifically, which looks like it's Icons8 also has an API if you want to retrieve them in that way, not necessarily just through the MCP server. It looks like it works the same way. So they've got an API key. You pass it either to the MCP server or the API. And so they've got a couple of examples of demos made with this. If you have like an icon heavy web page, then this looks like a great platform for, if you've got something like this where you're going to have a ton of different icons and maybe you want to randomly choose from them. Also, some more examples here of a very icon heavy web page. I've also just kind of implemented this. I just gave it a try at VibeWire.tech. So we'll take a look at that and how you can actually update using your MCP server, or update using Cloud Code or Cursor to use this MCP server. All right, so next let's take a look at how we'll go about implementing this MCP server in the Cursor. Go over to our Cursor settings. From here we can select tools and integrations. We've got a couple of MCP servers already. Let's just add this one to the list. And there we are. We'll save that. And now we'll go to our app page and let's just run this so we can take a look what we're working with. All right, so we've got our basic website here. It would be nice to spice this up with a couple more icons. So yeah, I could see a couple places where that would make sense. So let's go ahead and run that in Cursor, and here we can just ask, let's pop up our model chat. We'll switch over to Cloud Sonnet and just say MCP run the Icon8 tool to find some icons for my website. Okay, and already it looks like it's getting a few icons back here. Getting quite a few. It's running this a couple times. So in order to make this a little bit simpler, let's just say stop. Let's find one icon. And run that again. All right, great. And so just ran it the one time, found a couple of good. So this is a podcast website, so it's found a couple of things that would make sense for that. And right here, you can see it's calling the get icon PNG URL. So I chose the right tool. Oh, calling get icon paste 64. So let's see if it can do it this time. I'm curious. So it's telling me about the icon it found, where it is planning to add it. Would you like me to help integrate this? Yes. And it does say it can find the SVG format, but we already know we don't have the auth keys for that. So we'll just ask it to use the PNG file. So it's going to get the base 64. Let's see how it does. And just to explain this a little bit better, let's pop up a new terminal right here. I'm going to run the Model Context Protocol Inspector so we can see what it actually does. So it's downloading the icon for us, putting it into this .png file. It's taking a little while. So the reason for that, so we've got the MCP Icons8 server here. If we connect there, we'll see the same tools that our agent is calling right now. I'm just going to go back to Cursor and grab the tool call that it made so we can get the same tool. So it's getting this right now. It called get icon PNG base64 with these parameters. So we'll pass those same parameters. Size 32. Okay, so here's the response right here. So you can see you get this big long string in the response. It's not that crazy, but this is a bit much for an LLM to process in one tool call. So here we go, error calling tool edit file. Because it has to pull that into memory and then get it exactly right using Sonnet 4. I haven't tried this with Opus, but Sonnet really struggles with this. So I'm just going to stop right there. So we'll just ask it to say, use the URL instead. And there we go. So the trade-offs between these two different approaches, you can always go to the website and get the PNG and download it yourself. It seems a little bit heavy to use the MCP server to actually download the PNG file.